Father Kasmir, Nema, SVD, and welcome to the series of Treasures of the Past and Experiences of the Present. And we are happy to welcome today our guest speaker, Father Philip Gibbs. Welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm fine. I'm really enjoying the conference here in Rome.
Can you introduce yourself and your mission in PNG?
I was born 77 years ago in New Zealand, in the South Pacific, and I joined the SVDs when I was 25 years old and studied with the SVD and went as an OTP, Overseas Training Program, to Papua New Guinea as part of my formation. And I really found it fascinating there. I enjoyed it, and so I applied. And later on, after I was ordained in 1978, I was appointed to Papua New Guinea. So that's where I've worked for many years. I like to think I've been there 52 years now. And so, in a way, I grew up there. I was 25 years old when I went there, and now I'm 77 years old, so I grew up there. And it has its good moments and its sad moments, like anyone. I started off working in the bush, very isolated parishes, and then later on I was teaching at the seminary. Now I'm president of Divine Word University in New Guinea. A university that has 4 campuses throughout the country. So it's a big university. So that's my mission at the moment.
Now we are celebrating 150 years of SVD. Can you tell us how do you see the mission of SVD in Papua New Guinea when we are celebrating this 150 years now?
Yeah, well, we're celebrating 150 years. Those early missionaries came, and it was a very different world. We didn't have telephones, and we didn't have airplanes, and so on. So they had a very, I guess, challenging time there initially. But they did a good job, and gradually the church has grown. The Catholic Church is the largest church in Papua New Guinea. It's about 1/3 of the population. We are responsible for a number of dioceses in Papua New Guinea. So the mission started off very much what you would call mission in the bush, but then we developed schools. We contributed to the seminary, to the National Seminary, got other institutes like the Melanesian Institute, and we started off with Divine Word High School, which developed into Divine Word Institute, and now Divine Word University, which is one of the main universities there in Papua New Guinea. We work in various ministries in the country. It's always changing. It depends on the situation, how the country is developing. The country attained independence 49 years ago. We're going to celebrate 50 years this year. And it's finding its way in the world as an independent country. We work in that context. And so we develop new forms of ministry. For example, new ministries now in the towns, in the cities, because that's where a lot of the people are now, rather than always in the forest, in the bush, in the mountains. So the SVD has got a lot to celebrate because we were one of the first and one of the most influential missionary congregations initially. But gradually the church has become localized, and so you've got the local clergy, you've got the local bishops, and so we now have to concentrate more on specialized ministries rather than simply the pastoral, that support the pastoral ministry that's promoted by the local church.
Within that years of SVD presence in PNG or Papua New Guinea, what are the most contribution that SVD have done so far?
Well, I think the greatest contribution is bringing the good news, the good news of Jesus Christ, and people responded well to that, and then gradually the local church has developed from that. But that initial bringing of the good news was really important, and with that, of course, it's not just a verbal proclamation, but also health services, education services, social services, and quite a bit of research. Many of our early missionaries were trained to do research, anthropological research, social research, and they made a real contribution, I think, in the appreciation of culture and the appreciation of the local religious identity, and also a contribution politically in mentoring some of those who later became important in the local leaders in the country.
Talking about Papua New Guinea is very much involved their culture in their lives. No, culture has been part of their lives. How do you see the role of the culture in Papua New Guinea in line with the evangelization of church mission perspective?
The culture is an aspect of life in Papua New Guinea which is very important. There are around 800 different cultural groups and 800 different languages. So it's a very complex cultural setting. It's very, very important because 95% of the people are what you would call indigenous people. They don't sort of think of that really. They just think of themselves as Papua New Guineans, which is fair enough. A cultural dimension is part of life everywhere. It's part of politics. It's part of everyday life, and it's part of the church life. And so the church is dealing with cultural issues. For example, marriage. Every culture has different ways of thinking of marriage and the relation between men and women. And so that's something that the church and the missionaries have had to deal with, but we're having to deal with it socially as well in dealing with a lot of gender-based violence and where there's breakdowns in the cultural realities that we're dealing with.
So how do you then resolve those issues of cultural issues, social issues, from the perspective of the church?
The church, and particularly the missionaries, are not going to solve it alone, but it's going to have to be done with the people. I think research is very important to try to find what's working and what's not. For example, at the moment, I'm dealing with accusations of people who are accused of being witches. Now that's very cultural, the whole idea of witches or sorcery. Then how are we going to deal with that? And so we're doing a lot of research into what is working and what's not. Has had an influence and reduced the amount of sorcery accusations and the violence that's associated with that. And where we simply failed. It didn't make sense. It didn't help at all. And so that's where the church is giving its influence and at the moment in research in matters like that.
Beside doing pastoral ministry, you are also anthropologist, cultures and social issues. So far, throughout your work as an anthropologist, what have been most surprising findings?
To me, to find the seeds of the word in people's culture and in people's lives that we can build on, that can be enlightened by the good news, so that it becomes integrated with the faith life and the life of the church. Finding those seeds of the word. For example, the value people place in community life. That can have its moments where it's unfortunate because it's one community versus another community, and there'll be accusations between the communities. But that value that people place on community is something that is very important, and it can be part of church life, and we can build on that. That's just one example of the many values that are indigenous, that are local values coming from the culture, which contribute very well to the faith life of the people today. There's always aspects of, for example, the use of language, the use of music, the use of dance, the way we interpret the gospel of the day, which is very, very important so that it becomes a real celebration of the community. It's not just something that is ideological or something that's a theory, an anthropological theory. No, it comes out in the way that people are celebrating, for example, on a Sunday with the particular dance that they have developed in order to integrate the theme for that particular Sunday that would be normal in a church in Papua New Guinea.
One of the SVD's charism is interculturality. How this charism, intercultural mission, has been spelled out in the life of our missionaries in Papua New Guinea.
Well, interculturality is part of the DNA of SVD, and that comes out also in Papua New Guinea in the interculturality of our own SVD communities. For example, a community in which I live at Divinewood University, we have one Polish, one Mexican, one Indonesian, an Australian, and myself as a New Zealander. We've all got our own, cultural background, and it contributes to the way we understand one another. It contributes to the way we want to celebrate things. It contributes to our language. Oh, there's an Indian as well. Sorry, and I think people get used to that. They know that the SVD, there's an SVD coming. Okay, where's he from? With some congregations, say no, or that must be an American, or that must be an Indian. But with the SVD, it's always the contribution of where the person has come from, and it influences the way we proclaim the good news in different ways. So people see us, and I think we see ourselves as an intercultural group, and we have to appreciate that.
What would be your message for the young missionaries, someone who have been more than 50 years in the field of mission?
My message for the young missionaries, well, one, you've got something, a wonderful treasure in the good news to be able to share and to proclaim, but to always do it in a listening mode, to be always prepared to listen to the people and to listen to God speaking to you through the people. I think that's very, very important, because we can't come as arrogant missionaries bringing something. I think we'll discover more through listening to the people, and there's different ways that we can listen, whether it be just in the pastoral setting, whether it be as a counselor, whether it be as a researcher, and that's very, very important for young missionaries, that they can come with that sense of appreciation of God already working, and has been working in a special way for 50 years, or 150 years in Papua New Guinea. The celebration this year of 150 years is important to be able to look back and to be able to see and appreciate the work of the early missionaries that we're building on today.
With that message for the young missionaries, what hopes do you have for the future of church in Papua New Guinea, and of course for the SVD?
I hope that the church can take seriously prophetic dialogue. That's something that comes from the SVD, I think, and the society in Papua New Guinea really needs the light that the missionaries can bring. And sometimes it can be kind of depressing when you see violence, for example, when you see materialism and taking over, for example, with some of the mining projects and some of the timber projects where and oil and gas and modern commercialism coming in, and people getting very materialistic, for example, and abandoning their communal values. When you see that, it's very, very important that the church provide that alternative, provide an inspiration and light, so that people can really have hope that they can have a better future. And part of that, I think, is working for the kingdom of God. We all realize that the kingdom of God is not just something here on this earth, but we're part of that, working towards that. And I think the church can give people that inspiration that they need to be able to look beyond all the problems and issues that they're facing, to realize there's something bigger, there's something better to that they can work towards.
Thank you for that insight, Father. It has been pleasure talking to you, Father Philip. Thank you very much for those insights and sharing.
My pleasure.
I'm Father Kasmir Nema. See you next time for more conversations with other resources.